Hello, everyone, and welcome. So happy to be here with you tonight. I think that some of you know we do this monthly. So thanks if you're coming back, and if it's your first time, welcome, welcome. I'll tell you anyhow what we do each time. Hi. Um, just so you have an idea of how the night's going to run. So I typically we will start in a moment with some quiet, so we can just kind of connect to one another as a group in a field, and then I'll give a little talk about our topic. Then we'll go into a deeper, longer meditation, and then we'll open it up for questions. Now, if along the road you have some questions and you want to send them out anonymously or with your name attached to them, you're going to send them to Nika and she's going to read them to me later. What I have found that I am miserable at is trying to read your questions while I'm teaching. It just doesn't work for me. So we're going to do it in a way that we're both served to for our best experience. So that is how the night's going to go. And let's go ahead now and just get connected. So if you've meditated with our group before, we start with an open-eyed meditation, you know that. But if you haven't done it, you're going to find something in your room. Maybe it's something that is alive, maybe it's, but it has to be still. So it could be a plant or something that you're maybe connected to, or it could literally be a spot on the wall. But I'd like you to begin to gaze at it in an attempt to fall still. And in that gazing point, you'll notice your own stillness. It will begin to help you remember consciously or unconsciously that there may be stillness outside of you, but there is stillness inside of you. You're not staring, you're simply looking with curiosity. And then take a nice deep breath in. And as you exhale, feel the weight of your muscles and bones. Surrendering in a way that allows you to become more present. And then breathing in again. And this time, as you exhale, notice the container of the room that you're in, the way that it holds your space, feet beneath you, ceiling above. Perhaps there are walls to your sides, in front, behind, and that you are in the center of it all. And then take another deep breath in, and just for a moment, you'll exhale and close your eyes. Place your hand on the center of your heart and land. And I would like to ask a favor that tonight you listen through this portal, through the portal of your heart. Try not to gather the information from your mind, but lead with your presence. Feel the words in your body and notice the shift that can happen in a single evening. And now, as you're ready, you can go ahead and open your eyes. You are very welcome to keep your cameras off, and you are also very welcome to put them on. So it's always nice for me to see your faces and how you're taking in the information, but I am also aware that some of you might be in bed with your pajamas on and you'd prefer not. So it's all good. I'd like to start with faith. Okay, so what we're talking about is a question of faith and learning to listen. And so I want to start with the definition or some loose definition of faith, because I think that faith is different for everyone. So we need a ground rule here of like, what is faith anyhow? And for me, it's a direction. And I know that some of the things that I'm going to say tonight you might be like, what and where is she going? And I don't believe this, but I want you to really have an open mind, because this is not your traditional conversation about this topic. It's quite different than the traditional conversation. So just kind of follow the process till the end. So for me, faith is a direction. Most of the time, faith looks a lot like this, right? Where I am looking outside of myself for someone to help me, which immediately puts me in the position of lack. Yeah. What I don't have faith in is myself. Yeah. What I do have faith in is something outside of me. And that it may be helpful on some levels, but not completely. So when that is true, when I'm looking outwardly for my faith, I'm not looking in. And I am no longer really part of the scenario of this coming to faith. I'm actually outside of the whole experience, and I am waiting for it to come to me, as if I couldn't drive this ship at all. Yeah. And that's not the truth. In fact, it has us always looking in the wrong direction. So when faith doesn't come knocking on my door, right? If I don't get the thing that I wanted, if I say my prayers and I'm not given the thing I prayed for, or life isn't going the way that I want, I can blame something outside of myself. Yeah, well, oh, I'm just going to kick the can. And I'm not really held responsible. So there is a way that we want to stop looking outward for our faith and recognize that the reason all these things aren't actually happening is because I'm asking in the wrong direction. Another way we lose the thread of faith is that we try to understand ourselves in comparison to the external world. And when that happens, I'm typically feeling pretty scared, pretty alone, pretty anxious. I will change who I am depending on who I'm talking to. I may change what I say or do depending on how many likes I get on my Facebook or my Instagram, right? I'm constantly trying to understand who I am from some external source. Yeah. Just the way I was trying to connect to some external source that was called faith, everything is outside of me, which really leaves me with no value, right? What is the point of me if everything is happening outside and nothing's happening in this shell, right? And so when I start to recognize that this isn't working, like you could heart right now if like the what you're doing now, I'm assuming, isn't working, right? Or if you were like figured it all out, you wouldn't be on this call, right? You'd be doing something else perhaps, right? But there's something that just doesn't feel right. And you're searching, right? And the search leads you outward. What I'm suggesting is that the search is not at all outside of you, that it has everything to do with the courage of looking inward. The place that is most often shown to us is the center of the heart. when we look at religion, right, there's always some heart, some beating heart, the heart of compassion, the red lotus. It's always here, right, in the center of our body. This is not mythology, right? I'm not talking about mythology. I'm literally talking about energy. We are energy. There is a portal inside of us that has a deep intensity for feeling. It is highly receptive to the world around us, which is why we protect it all the time. In fact, we protect it with layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. Yeah? So while I'm looking outward and I'm feeling I'm in separation, I have to do everything by myself, and my anxiety is growing, right? Like, and what if I screw it up? I'm going to screw it up. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to screw it up, as if we could, right? As if we could. When we realize that the reason I'm feeling all those ways is because I've just been turned the wrong way. When I begin to turn inward and create a resonance with myself, when I trust myself, when I realize I'm actually the source, I start to feel a whole lot calmer. I start to feel connection. I start to feel the faith in me. Maybe I know something. Maybe I'm worth something. Maybe the answer is really here. And I've been I've been doubting myself and saying, well, they know that they know better than me. I should do what they do. Oh, look at her. I'll just copy what she's doing, without sitting in your own peace, asking your own heart what feels right. This is where faith begins to really come into being for us, because if we've been looking in the wrong way and faith hasn't been working, and we've been praying and like, wow, I'm waiting, everyone says, but it never happens for me. It's not happening for you because you're not with you. And the moment we start to learn how to meditate on the heart, how to get present in the heart, then I promise you, things start to change. And I can only say that because it was my humble journey. And when I figured that out, it was like, oh my God, how did I not see that? Right? I was brought up Catholic. I would walk into the church and there's all these big hearts beaming with white light popping out of it. Like, it's here. Oh my God, how could I? And then the symbols started to make sense and the mythology started to make sense, right? Because there's a real desperate way that the energies that be want us to get it right, but they can't just talk to us, right? Because it's just energy. But there's so many ways that they're attempting, it is attempted to show us, look in this direction. This is where it's going on. And so when I started to sit in my deep heart, what I realized was that it was blocked. It was thick with defense mechanisms, like so many layers of because remember, I said that the heart is really such a sensitive thing. And when you're born, your heart is just like out there. It just has no reason for thinking that it should hide until someone wounds it. And then you splinter, right? I have to protect it. I have to change my behavior because something outside of me said what I am is not okay. Oh, I'm going to shift. I'm going to shift. But I'm not just going to shift. I am going to protect my heart. And so then we do all these things to avoid being with the heart. And they could be pretty obvious things, right? Like they could be uh, normal distractions, like watching too much TV, eating too much food, drinking too much, all those kinds of things, right? The obvious, like you know how you avoid actually being with yourself, right? You can probably list them and you're welcome to if you want. But there are others. and they're a little bit more sneaky. I taught a class like this the other day, and I was explaining that when I realized that whenever I was being asked if I was to attend like a meditation or some spiritual conversation or meditation or teaching or whatever, where I was asked to drop in, my critic would come up and it would say, "This is silly. Oh, this is, oh my God, this person has no idea what they're talking about. Oh God, I should have just done something else," right? None of that was true. The person was probably profound. They were saying something from their heart. How could it not be true? But my critic, my judge, decided that you're not going in there. You're not going to open your heart. Are you crazy? The last time you did that, it got stepped on. I am not letting you do that. So the critic would get louder and louder and louder and louder. When I got smart to the critic, I realized, oh, you are so afraid. Oh my God, this is what this is about. It's not that you are superior and you know anymore. That was the way you tricked yourself. But what was really happening is that I was too afraid to look into my heart. I had protected it for so long because it had been hurt. And I wasn't going to let that happen again, right? This part of me wasn't going to let that happen again. But this other aspect of ourself that deserves our faith came through and showed me that that was really me avoiding sitting with my pain. That is the next step. We notice our avoidance, and then we begin to sit honestly with our pain. And that could be a really long process. But I can tell you that on the other side of that pain is the most beautiful thing that you will ever experience. It is the joy that you have been looking for your entire life. I promise you this. It is finally being in peace and in contentment and in deep love and in all knowing. And it's just having the courage, the faith to look inward and sit through some dark nights, some uncomfortable shadows for sure, some tears perhaps, but certainly the truth. Do I still need to protect myself? And why? From what? Can I trust myself? Can I finally stop shifting who I am to please everyone else and be honest about me and what I want and how I feel and the way that I resonate in the world? So do you see, faith is a really tricky thing. I have to have faith in myself to get the joy that I've been looking for. Right? We don't always see it that way. I have to ask myself the question and wait for the answer. That's even the harder part. Right? I might ask the question, but I'm not so sure I want to know the answer. And so, and this becomes this very beautiful process of connecting and listening to higher guidance. There is a way that we think we're doing it, but we're doing it from here. Yeah. We're asking the questions from our mind. We're getting the answers from our mind. And our mind is simply a tool. I know many of you have heard that before, but it's so, so, so true. We use it so wrongly. It really is just a tool to get us here or there. Yeah. It's just to get things done. The deeper intelligence, the place from which we would prefer to live is through the heart. When I enter a room now, when I entered this space, I entered here, not here. And I had to ask, I had to sit before I started and say, are you with me? Are we ready to go? I trust you. And then I shut this off. Before that, I took notes, but but I had to shut this off so I can be with you and speak my truth without worrying about what anyone here thinks. That's courage. That's faith here. And then the truth comes pouring through. And the thing is, it's not just my truth, it's collective truth. Because once we sit through the pain, we start to feel the compassion. Oh boy, that's been hard for you all these years to hide and defend and protect and pretend. All these years, I feel such compassion, distraction, pain, compassion. When I start to understand that about myself, I see it in everybody. I can see it a mile away when someone's come into me with their armor. Yeah, most of the time. Yeah. But I do my very best to disarm them by staying here. If I went here with them, forget it. We're all lost. We're all back in the mess of things. But I stay in the truth. Now, this does not mean I throw my arms around them and give them hugs and kisses all the time. That is not the kind of love and compassion I'm talking about. That's not for me to do. It is my ability, your ability, to stay present with whatever they are presenting. Their truth. It's not for me to change that. I'm just being completely myself, and then they can be completely themselves. And then a conversation starts to happen. We begin to realize we're oneness. We're not separate at all. What we've been defending, each and every one of us individually, is this aspect of oneness. And because we're so individual, we're not connected to it anymore. So we've been going in the wrong direction. So sometimes people say, well, how the heck am I supposed to live my life like this, right? This just seems so crazy to me. And I didn't change my life at all. I just changed how I felt in my life. And everything that I did, no matter what it was. Now, I am a spiritual teacher, so it might seem a little easier for me, but in fact, anything that you do, if you do it in service of oneness and not somewhere out in the world, like I'm doing it for myself, I'm doing it to make money, I'm doing it to get that promotion, I'm doing it. You see, all those things have always left you feeling deflated. You might have got the promotion, it might have felt good, you might have had a drink or two after work, and then you were miserable. You might have bought the house, you might have got the partner, you might have got, but when I'm just trying to get things to fill myself up, I'm always going to feel like this wasn't exactly what I wanted. This isn't exactly turning out the way I had thought, right? When we start to do things in service of oneness, the complete whole, things change dramatically. And I'm going to show you a very, very badly drawn diagram, which Nika said I could show you, but it's the best that I could do right now. Okay, can you see this? I'm going to put this nice and close. All right, I am no artist. So when I am serving oneness, this energy inside of me, inside of everyone, gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. We're all going in the same direction in service of oneness. This is where we are now. It keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller because we're pulling from it constantly, right? And we're pulling from it for our own selfish reasons. So when we try to do something like all these manifestation challenges that are out there, I want to manifest this for me. Mm-hmm. And then maybe even I get it, but I'm never happy. When am I going to be happy? When am I going to find joy? And I would say that I found joy when I stopped doing it that way. When all I wanted to be was part of the whole. And however I could be led in that direction, made me so happy, so full, so complete. I allowed myself to be led by my heart in the right direction. It wasn't my scheme. It wasn't, "Oh, well, I have to do all these things because that's what we're told to do." I really followed my own intuition, which was the intuition of oneness, because that's what I'm tapped into. So I can't get it wrong. It's the flow of organic life. That's what every other animal on the planet does, other than us. They are in service of nature. They are in service of each other. They are in service of us. The sun shows up every day in service to this planet, to us. The moon rises for the same reason. Yeah. It's all harmony. We don't have to pull for ourselves. We have to connect and harmonize. And that's what we have to have faith in. That this thing that sounds so crazy, and I told you it would, if I do this, what will happen? No one else is doing this. Great. And look. And look. When was the last time you sat across from someone and they were like, "I am so happy. I don't know what to do with this." Not too often, right? Not too often. People really get along in their misery. There is a beautiful sense of contentment when we have the faith to trust our own heart and let it lead us to something far bigger and greater than ourselves. This, I will be really bold and say, is just the truth. And when it is done that way, the trying and the fear and the anxiety subsides. It's gone. Oh, I'm being led. I just have to follow my instincts. I just have to follow my nature. So I wonder, before we switch into a bit of a meditation, Nika, do we have any questions that I...
No direct questions, some notes and reflections. So if people want to take a look in the chat and just see.
Okay. Let's see. When you focus on being rather than doing, flow is effortless effort. Yes, exactly. Faith for me is the act of patience. When I am patient enough to pause, I pause on acting on all those impulses. So beautiful. Lots of wise people. Is always hindsight that I recognize how the patience gave space and the opportunity for a spiritual solution to come through. Yes, right? And that's an act of faith, to have patience. I just want to, I have to keep doing, I better do this thing, right? And I got to do it now. But if I sit and I wait, so patience is waiting for the inspiration that comes from the heart, that comes from collective consciousness, that comes from, quite honestly, your guides. They're there too. They're absolutely there too. But they're not out here, right? It's all within us. So let's do it. Let's see.
I have a comment, Paula.
Yeah, who is that
Thank
though?
you so much. That was wonderful. I work with adults. I teach immigrants and refugees English as a second language, and I do a lot of Heart Math Institutes. Been doing this for 95 years to connecting the brain with the heart, so it's integrated. And I think that's what you're talking about. And as a spiritual teacher, a lot of spiritual teachers say you have to destroy the ego, but I think we need an ego to live in the world, but it doesn't have to drive the school bus or airplane 100% of the time. And you don't have to identify with the ego constantly. So the ego might be struggling with higher guidance, right? So do you agree with that? That we don't need to destroy the ego, but it doesn't have to drive the airplane all the time. You know, it doesn't have to, we don't have to identify with it, and then we lose the actual oneness, because if we identify with the ego all the time, that is the story of separation. That's not oneness, right?
Yes, thank you, Charles. That was very well said. And so even the thought of destroying the ego, that's the ego.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
If
yeah,
we were given an ego, right, then obviously it has a use. We may not be using it well, but it is my ego that says I have to destroy the ego because I have to control all these things. I might have been out of balance, right? My ego might need to soften a little bit so that the voice of something softer can come through. Absolutely. But I believe that part of that really comes, Charles. The ego gets stronger because of the sadness. You know, it's really an act of protection. So
yeah.
I can battle with my ego, but anything that I resist persists, right? And so what I do have to sit with is my sadness, not so much my ego.
Yeah, the ego
That's
wants to defend itself. So whenever you're defending yourself, you're defending the ego and maybe not feeling what the experience is. Yeah,
yes,
that's
that's kind of correct. Yes, yes. And so um we don't have to think about the ego. We don't have to think about much. We really just have to get into the center of our being and start to be patient, whoever that came from, and fully loving. And so that's what we're going to do now, unless anyone has another question before we dive in. Okay. So this is a parts meditation, and we'll just see how it goes. I'll talk through a lot of it, and you go as far as you feel comfortable going. If there's a place where there's a hard no, I would just ask you to stay there with all the love in your heart. You don't have to go further, but don't check out altogether. Okay, so we're going to start again, just connecting to our gazing point. And feeling that stillness. The stillness outside of us, reminding us of the stillness inside. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, once again, relax the muscles and bones. Become more present, more patient. Another deep breath and allow your eyes to close. Landing in the center of your heart. We sometimes like to call it the seat of the Buddha. Landing there, letting your mind know how useful it truly is. But for now, you're going to visit with the heart. I'd like you to notice if you had any challenges, any resistances tonight. Any thoughts or feelings that didn't let you fully take in the words that were spoken. Notice that for yourself. And if you did, What was that defense protecting? What was that resistance or no response? No, in quotation marks, response, protecting. And if not tonight, are there other places where you notice to tighten your heart? You push things away. You reject or resist. And since we are human, no matter how much work we've done, we have that filter. It is that filter for you. It is your no response. And when you can connect to it, you might begin to realize that it's been there a really, really long time. That it's shown up in many different ways. But the whole time, it's been doing one thing, protecting your heart. Take a deep exhale, letting go a little more, giving yourself permission to go a little deeper. Maybe you can remember a time, maybe it was a long time ago, where you did have to protect your heart, protect yourself. Where you did have to put your hand up and push the world away. Where you couldn't feel fully yourself. So safe in being you that you could allow the world to simply pass through you without any resistance at all. The way you had to change or fold just to feel safe. If that comes through for you, if it's clear or even hazy, can you sit with it? Can you recognize how hard that really is? How hard you've worked to try to stay safe, to try to be okay, try to prove yourself or hide yourself. Feel compassion for that part. And the Buddha self, the higher self, be there in all its wisdom. In all its patience, in all its love. that higher self, look upon this part of you with the most accepting eyes. Making it be truly felt that there is no reason to hide or change or protect. And you feel the movement of love from the back of your heart to the front of your heart. Allowing your divine heart to expand even just a little bit. Just a small blossom. To peeking through. To begin to feel the direction of faith inside of you, your own knowing, your own courage to live your own divine life in service of love. Notice how you're feeling now. Are you feeling connection to yourself? And then perhaps to others on the call, all in the same field, all doing the same work, all connecting directly to the same oneness, allowing that circle of light to get bigger and bigger, because we are tapped in instead of tapped out. We are feeding the light because we know that is the truth of all things. Now, as you're ready, you can go ahead and deepen your breath. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes, but can you stay there in the seat of the Buddha, the center of your heart? Continue on the call from that place. Maybe with a little more knowledge of what may be blocking you and how to soften that and where to connect. And then once your eyes are open, if you would like to ask a question or a comment, you can do it with your voice. You can write it in. So I think this can be a complete yes, of course moment. I think it could be an aha moment or slow unfolding for you. But what I'd like you to begin to notice for yourself, and I'm going to keep talking. If you have a question, just go ahead and chime in, is what's happening here, right? Because this is such an area of sensitivity, as if not that it is your sweetheart, but that it's telling you something, right? You can literally, when it's not feeling safe, you can feel it contract. When it's feeling like it's accepted and things are good, you can feel it expand. And you can choose what to do, right? You can say, oh, I'm noticing this, but I'm going to keep my heart open. How? I'm going to give myself that feeling of security and love and contentment. I'm going to do that for myself. And I'm not going to let anyone or anything steal that from me, because I know that when my heart begins to expand, I'm not only in the right place, I'm in the vibration of joy, which is what I've been looking for all the time. And then all those things that you think you wanted or needed or had to fix in yourself begin to just fall away, because they don't make any sense anymore. Because you're no longer looking outward for the validation. You're making peace with who you are as you are in the perfect design of the Creator. Any more questions? Any thoughts? Okay, I'm going to thank you so much for coming tonight. We are going to send out the recording tomorrow along with a bundle. We've been working on this topic. So what typically happens is I work on a topic every month, and then we do a call, usually the third Thursday every month. And it's on the topic we've been working on all month. And so we do a series of meditations. We will send out that bundle of meditation for you to take a look at. And if you have any questions, you can go ahead and email them to me. I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I hope you have a blessed night, and thank you so much for coming. Thank you.